You're listening to the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast, where we talk about hunting, politics, sports, and everything in between. Now, here's your host, Steve West.
Hey, we're back here in the podcast studio, Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast. I'm Steve, and today I'm flying solo in the studio. Travis is off on a family mission, but we had a chance to record a podcast today that I thought was just too important for us to put it off any longer. I feel strongly about the way that we, project our image as hunters and shooters and sportsmen and outdoorsmen and conservationists to the general public. When I say the general public, I'm not necessarily just saying what anti-hunters or anti-gun hunter people think about us. I like to think about the general public as everybody. There's a lot of people out there who don't hunt that are not anti-hunters. Just because you don't hunt doesn't make you an anti-hunter, but it does make you a voter, and I'm going to talk about that today. And I'm going to be joined on the podcast today by a guy by the name of Zack Owens. He has an Instagram handle at @beyond_the_backcountry. Zack Owens, at Beyond the Backcountry. And he's an avid hunter and outdoorsman. He has about 45,000 Instagram followers. Now, I'm going to talk about this later, but that makes you a public figure, okay? When you have an Instagram page or a Facebook page, even if there's only 20 people following it, you are now a public figure. And Zack is always posting photos of his family and his days in the field. And by all account, he is a solid outdoorsman who represents the hunting and shooting community extremely well. On top of everything else, he's a hell of a wolf hunter. And that's what started this conversation between he and I on Instagram. I messaged him, he messaged me back, and it started this discussion of him coming on the podcast today. And I've been really eager. I had an office meeting about this podcast a week ago, a production meeting, and said, hey, this is one that's important to me, and here's why. And we had that conversation. And it's because he posted a phone scope video of a wolf being shot. And he was there, and I believe it was his father-in-law. He'll clarify and tell the story later. But he posted an unedited full-length video. And this wolf was big, it was tough, and it soaked up some lead. Before he died, and it took, I'm going to say 30 seconds or so, because honestly, from the time of being shot to being dead is like 30 or 40 seconds, something like that. And that's ethical. That's fast enough, okay? But how to put this best, it was hard to watch, okay? The video detailed the gory last minute of half a minute, really, of this wolf life as he fought to survive, right? I mean, and it was hard to watch. As a hunter, I wanted to throw Zack a high five. I was like, damn, right on, smoke a wolf. And then there was the other part of me that was, as a dog lover, I have dogs. I've always had dogs. I'm a dog lover. I had these other emotions that came up because it was a full-length, unedited video. And I thought, man, I've got this golden retriever. What if somebody shot my golden retriever? What would they be like? Or one of my old St. Bernards before they passed away. What would that have been like for them to get shot? What if I'd have seen that? And so I was having those emotions. Then I came to my senses, and I was like, okay, look, it's all good. It was a wolf. It was wolf season. They're tough, and this is going to happen. And then I thought about, what if someone who is not a hunter, what would they think of this video? And how would it impact the way that they think about hunters? And before social media, we only thought of people like myself who have a television show as a public figure, right? Myself, Jim Shockey, Michael Waddell. I mean, we're television personalities. We're public figures. But now with social media, we're all public figures. There's no getting around that. We're all public figures. And we have to be recognizing this immediately. How we as public figures represent the hunting and shooting community needs to be more important in our daily lives. Every single bit of it. If you post something, you have to think about it first. Think about it. Think about how everyone's going to look at it. Look, you're not going to make everybody happy, okay? But just think about how it projects an image of the hunting and shooting community to the people who don't hunt and shoot, because they vote. And this is important. I'm going to talk about this a lot today. And, Look, I'm going to clarify something. Not every animal that I've ever shot was a perfect one-shot clean kill. I didn't shoot them and they dropped and the steaks landed in the freezer. Okay? No way. Over the last 20 years, I've shot a lot of animals. I mean, I've committed next to, what some would consider genocide. Okay? I'm probably in the top 1% of animal killers in the history of hunters. I get that. And they all haven't been perfect kills. Okay? But when we air it on television, it is edited. We don't show an animal's 30 seconds of dying, okay? You're going to see 3 to 4 seconds of it. It's cleansed, right? We have network, parameters that we have to stay within these guidelines, and otherwise they'll quality control check your show, because the network has been smart about this for a long time. The image that hunters project to the general public is important. For them, it's more important because advertising dollars are tied to it. But for the future of our sports, hunting and shooting sports, it's critical, okay? So we're airing edited video, which is far different than posting a full-length unedited video clip. And I'm going to talk to Zack about this today, and he knows that we're going to talk about it. And we, meaning me and all of you out there with social media pages, we need to focus our attention on the people who are not hunters. And they don't have an opinion yet on hunting. Okay? They don't hunt. That doesn't make them an anti-hunter, but they are voters, because we're posting videos or airing television shows that are shaping their opinion on hunting and gun ownership, and these people vote. And we need to recognize that now, immediately, and start doing something about it and being a more responsible hunting and gun ownership community and thinking about all the things we're doing. And, that's what we're going to talk about here today. Look, when I come back from the short commercial break, we're going to bring Zack Owens on the show. We're going to be live with him right here in the podcast studio, and we're going to talk all this out. We're going to find out what he was thinking. I want to hear all about this wolf hunt, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, and I am pumped up for it. This is a podcast that's important to me, and I hope that it's important to all of you, and we'll be right back after this brief commercial break.
This segment of the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast is sponsored by Marathon Seat Covers. We've got you covered.
All right, everybody, we're back here in the podcast studio. Like I said, I'm not here with Travis Price today. Travis is off on a family mission. I'm flying it solo, but we welcome to the podcast Zack Owens. His social media handle is @beyond_the_backcountry. And we welcome him to the podcast. And I appreciate your willingness to talk to me today about the hunt that you and I were messaging back and forth on. Because, man, I'll tell you what, I love to see a wolf get shot. And I wanted to, reach out to you immediately afterward and start to have that discussion about what we post to social media and how that potentially impacts hunting and the whole community. And I just want to clarify, hell of a wolf, Zack. I tell you what, first and foremost, let's relive the hunt. Tell me how it all went down, man. I got to know.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. The hunt, I've been hunting wolves for a decade now, in Idaho. And it took me a long time. In fact, I started a journal about 10 years ago of, it's the only animal I've ever done this with, wolf hunting. I actually can't find it. I've been looking for it lately, but it has the dates and, miles hiked and where I was and all that stuff. And it took me 69 days of wolf hunting, I think over the course of like 3 seasons or 4 seasons, to get my first opportunity, and I missed.
Damn.
Yeah, and it was like seeing a unicorn, and then I missed, and then actually after that, I didn't even hunt them one time. The year after that, I was just kind of crushed about it. Then the following year, I ended up harvesting my first wolf, and since then I've just been getting after them. Definitely no expert. It's just I would say the last 3 years. 2 years in particular, but like counting this is the 3rd year. Everything just kind of clicked and started to get figured out. And before it was hard enough just to see one or find one. And now I'm probably putting my eyes on wolves. You know, if I go 5 different days, I'll probably see wolves 4 of the times.
Well, there's a lot of wolves, but they're incredibly intelligent animals. I mean,
Unbelievably smart.
yeah, incredibly intelligent animals. They know how to stay hidden. You could be surrounded by wolves and never see them.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean so that a lot of people will listen to what you're saying and think, well, there's not that many wolves if you're not seeing them all the time. This is not like hunting a deer. These are animals that can disappear in wide open spaces.
Yeah, not only that too, is just their range is so large and they never stop, you know. They're just constantly moving, checking their range, you know. Winter's a little bit different, but you know, in Idaho, you know, their average range 60 miles. And you know, when talking about a lot of Idaho where I'm hunting, you know, it's the most remote, rugged state in the lower 48, you know.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, just finding them is, I mean, I know so many hunters, accomplished hunters that spend a lot of days in the woods that have maybe seen a couple, you know, over the years. So yeah, it's a very difficult animal. Like I said, finally, after a long time trial and error, and there's no information out there on how to hunt them either. It's the only animal that I, you know, fully 100% figured out how to hunt on my own. You know, if you're hunting anything else in any other fashion, there's information out there. But the way we hunt wolves down here, you know, Idaho, Montana, all this, it's like Alaska and Canada. It doesn't make sense to hunt them the same way, right? They're hunting them over bait, or you know, most of the time, even here, it's incidental, or they're trapping them. It's just like the way we're hunting them here. Nobody does it, so there's no info out there. So fast forward to this season, I hadn't been out but one time with my wife. Went in there and the pack wasn't in there any time recently. So basically 2 weekends ago, I got out there and took my father-in-law. He's been with me. He was with me on my first 2 wolf kills, and then he's had opportunities with me. I've called some in and just fog and just bad luck with him. So I've been trying to get him on, and we went out for a 1-day wolf hunt. And if you wolf hunt enough, you know it's pretty unlikely really to, you know, kill a wolf on a 1-day hunt. But yeah, got into a pack, and there was a lone wolf. Probably 600 yards that morning, just howling by himself, and I could tell I don't know if he just got kicked out of the pack or was trying to get in the pack or was one of those deals. And I had eyes on him for probably 2-3 hours. He was on this ridgetop bedding and running around and just by himself and howling back and forth with me. And yeah, finally I was on the other ridge, and finally he committed and dropped like 2,600 foot elevation and came up to us, and I was able to stop him at 150, and my father-in-law shot him.
Cool. Yeah, and you know, and I've watched the video, you know, and in the first segment of the podcast before I had John, I kind of like preluded to this video, and obviously you and I had messaged back and forth about like the video and how certain people might see it. And as we were having this good, clean discourse, you know, the first thing I want to tell the listeners is, first off, I want to make 100% clear that I have no issue with Zack killing this wolf. I wish I had been there. I wish there had been 2 of them. I wish you could have doubled down. I wish there had been 3 and I was there and we could have tripled down. It would have been badass, right? But more than anything, I wish that I had been there before you posted the video, 100% unedited. And that's what, you know, where my conversation came. I was like, damn, that's badass, get a wolf. And then, you know, it's just, you know, so that video to you and I, right? So when you posted that video, you posted it because you and your peers, the people who think like you and I do, are like, yeah, they rally on that, man. They love that. They're like, yeah, smoke him again, hit him again, you know? And
yeah,
I mean, look, there was the haters. I read some of the comments, you know, and it was like, oh, you were 6 MOA left on your first. I was like, geez, seriously? Like,
yeah,
that guy can smoke a turd for all I care. Yeah, that guy can kiss my ass. Yeah. It was like, no, like in all seriousness, but let me ask this: how many views has that video got right now?
I don't know. I thought it was gonna get pulled. I mean, I shoot a lot of predators.
I was shocked it wasn't. I just looked at it 6 seconds ago, and it was still up, and I was like, "Holy shit! Instagram hasn't pulled this yet."
I know, and I've been shadow banned for years. So yeah, I don't know how it didn't get. Honestly, I think with the new algorithms, it kind of helps that.
Yeah.
Because a lot less people who don't really, have the same interests and stuff don't see it.
Yeah.
And so I honestly think it's kind of that part of it's kind of been a benefit on social media, because I've noticed that, but then you'll get something random taken down that shouldn't even be taken down. That doesn't really make sense. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I actually have no idea. I think there was like 50K or something.
Yeah. So 50,000 people have watched it, right? And
Yeah.
And I mean, there's lots of comments on it. There was thousands of likes. I mean, those are our peers. I mean,
they got shared thousands of times, which the sharing is pretty. It got shared way more than the majority of videos I'd post.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was badass once again, And so when I send that out, I guess what we're talking about today for you and I isn't the people that see it that we want to see it, And for that matter, I don't even really care that anti-hunters see it, because everything offends them. They're just snowflakes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care what their opinion is. The video that you posted sat well with those people that are like us, but I want to talk about the people who we have nothing in common with. They don't hunt, they don't shoot. They're on Instagram. Let's say you're Bobby Joe and you live in Boise, Idaho, and you don't hunt, you don't shoot, you don't do anything, but you're on Instagram scrolling through and you love your great state of Idaho, and you come across this video and you watch the video, and maybe you own dogs, right? And so the dog, you see this dog get shot, and I mean, look, I'm sure you're a dog owner. You can appreciate where they'd be coming from watching this poor dog, for the last 30 seconds, which 30 seconds is nothing.
I run hounds.
Yeah,
I know that.
Well, what happens when a pack of wolves gets a hold of one of your hounds?
Yeah, they eat them.
Yeah, it's quickly, and 30 seconds would be blessing. So I was talking about today in today's podcast and wanted to have that discussion with you about how you and I mean, you've got 45,000 Instagram followers. I don't even know how many you have on Facebook, but 45,000 is not a little following. You're a public figure, Zach. I mean, you don't have a TV show, but you're a public figure just like us. And what I'm trying to be more recognizant of is the non-hunters who aren't anti-hunters, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're voters.
Yeah, the people in the middle. Yeah,
exactly. We need to appeal to them. And I guess if you had to go over, because you asked me a question, it was a great question. You said, were you telling me, that out of 20 years of doing your television show, all of your animals have dropped cleanly? No. I've made plenty of bad shots, over my course of committing genocide on, animals all over the world.
Yeah.
But we edit it to make it more tasteful for a broader populace, right?
Yeah, I get that. Well, I guess first of all, I have to just put this in there. Like,
yeah,
it didn't drop him, but it was the wolf was dead in 28 seconds.
Yeah. Look,
I've shot a lot of big game animals with a bow. A lot.
Yeah.
I am tickled to death if there's an animal I shoot through the heart that dies within 28 seconds.
Oh, all the time. No problem with the amount of time. And Zach, once again, I have no problem with the shot and the kill and the way the hunt went down.
Yeah.
It was how it was the video being shared to an open public forum.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I was like, if you had it to do over again, and I mean, if you, let's say you had an editing suite like we do, and you had a Jack Davis who's sitting 10 feet in front of you right now to edit the video for you and cleanse it up, would you have preferred to air it or to post it, like edit it up so maybe you only showed 7 or 8 seconds out of the 20 seconds? Or how do you feel about that, that portion of it?
Like hindsight?
Yeah.
I'd post it again tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll explain why.
Sure.
So I do have a quote unquote, following on social media. So all my stuff is seen by a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
But it's also, so I think you have social media, so you probably understand this.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Right. With a TV show, somebody can just watch a TV show, right? And then they just get a look over to their buddy on the couch and be like, oh, that guy sucks, or that was cool, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
On social media, everybody gets to share their own opinion.
Totally.
Right there in the public, everybody, it's good and it's bad, right?
Totally.
You know, because I really don't care about 99% of people's opinions for the, as long as I'm doing something right, you know?
Of course. Yeah.
So I know I've educated on my platform wolves because I've hunted them a lot, and you know, predators are more controversial than any other animal. Bears, lions, wolves. I shoot all of those often, and I post it, and those ones are going to get the most hate. I have worked with huge $100 million companies and been like, why won't you post a predator? And they say, oh, we get too much heat for it, too much hate. And over the years, all that has made me realize is like, there's no definitive line on what's acceptable, right? So I think I use a term like, who's the moral authority on what's acceptable for hunting? So I think there's probably universal truths, right?
Sure.
And there's still people that bad at it, but like even me, if it's got a giant exit wound or something like on a picture, I'm gonna clean it up.
Of course.
I'm gonna wipe blood off when I can. I'm gonna put its tongue back in its mouth. Like I'm not gonna, you know, I didn't shoot the wolf and then, unfortunately, I know you've done it because everybody has, especially like how many times have you had to shoot an animal at 5 feet when you walked up to it because it couldn't get back up, but it was still alive?
Plenty of times.
Right? That happens.
Plenty of times.
I'm never going to post that photo, right? Where it's like in the show and I'm putting the gun on its heart or on its head and shooting it, you know? But like, especially, there's like, there is no line. And what I'm seeing, I've been pretty vocal about this the last couple of years. I'm seeing this weird switch where it's like these companies are like, okay, we can you know, hunting's okay, but now we're not even going to show a damn animal. You know, it starts like, we're not going to show predators, and then I don't know if you saw the Zeiss deal last week, but you know, it's getting to the point where, and did you see the Zeiss pro staff email?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, there's Guns America wrote an article on it today because they reached out to them and it was confirmed. But they basically sent all their pro staff. They don't want to see semi-auto, you know, semi-auto centerfire rifles, urban environments, kids shooting guns. These are the things they don't want to see. This is what they sent to their pro staff. Hunting, kill pics, or the hunting of controversial species. There's a whole list. And it's like this woke PC culture is like finding its way into hunting, but it's not in a good way. That it's like, okay, let's just do this to kind of appease those people in the middle. It's almost like we're just going to hide our full way of life and what hunting is. Hunting is, I mean, nobody plans on a hunting trip that doesn't want to kill something, or else you're just hiking, right?
Sure.
So that is literally the object. It's not what makes a successful hunt, but that's the object. I didn't buy a tag to go hike in the mountains, you know.
No, you do that for free.
Yeah, exactly. So it's this weird thing I've seen, this like switch where these companies are like something dies when you're hunting, and that's why like everybody's so scared to use the word kill and all this stuff. It's getting to a point where, in my opinion, it's doing the opposite for hunting, because if it's like in the shadows and hidden, then it almost seems like it's not real, or that we're not doing it.
I get it.
And so like,
well, even you used the word harvest at the beginning when you said you harvest your first wolf.
Yeah, because I used to, a couple years ago, I was weird about it. It was probably been like 3 years ago. If I went back to my posts, I'd see that on a lot of posts, and I'm like, why did I write that? Now I like purposely make it a point to say kill and write the word kill, because I'm like, you harvest corn, you know.
Yeah.
Back then, you know, I had a bunch of sponsors, and I cared a little bit more, I guess, about kind of appeasing everybody instead of just like, you know, sticking to my beliefs.
Yeah.
And you know, just with time and seeing stuff change over the course of the years, it's like, that's what I'm saying. There's like, there is a middle ground. I believe there is. I don't know who draws the line, right?
Well, we have to individually. I mean, that's just it. We that's a great part about being a free country, and like us having this, good, open public discussion, because I want someone else that's out there to listen to this podcast, watch the podcast, however it is, and be like, oh, I see where both these guys are coming from, and have that impact how they, or at least make them think about it. Hey, Zach, I got to take a quick commercial break. We hear from one of the sponsors that make our great podcast possible. But when we come back from this short commercial break, we're going to continue this discussion.
This segment of the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast is sponsored by Bergara Rifles, where the people truly make the difference.
All right, we're back here in the podcast studio. I'm on the phone with Zack Owens, and we're talking about wolf hunting, predator hunting, or just hunting and gun ownership, and the public's perception of that, and how we post things on social media or air them on the television shows, and and how non-hunters or non-gun hunters are viewing us, and how our posts to social media, photo and video, impact how those people view hunters and gun owners, and potentially vote. And that's what I want to talk about, Zach, is how what we do, could potentially affect votes on anti-hunting or anti-gun hunting, ownership measures that are always coming up. I mean, our future kind of depends on this stuff, and that's why I really want to have these open public discussions about this stuff. And I see exactly where you're coming from. Before we went to commercial break, it's like, hey, why hide what we do? We need to show the world that this is what we do and it's okay. We need to send out that message that it's okay. I get that. But everything we do, and everything that we post into social media has the potential of maybe even just turning one vote, right? And I don't. Did you ever see the video? There was a video that I saw on YouTube it's been up for years, and it's got like 20 million views now. And it's a guy sitting at one of those little portable gun benches, and he's shooting a 50 caliber like Barrett in an iron mine or something, and he shoots and it ricochets back and tears his
hat off or something.
Well, it was his hat and his hearing protection, just tears it right off of his head. I mean, 3 inches, 2 inches over, and his head comes plumb off his shoulders. I mean, that would have been gory, right? And and the first time I saw it was because a person I knew was like, "Do you see what this dumb redneck posted?" That was their impression. These people don't own guns. Or that guy didn't. He didn't own a gun. He didn't hunt. He didn't do nothing. In fact, he was a fly fisherman. And he was like, "You see what this dumb, redneck posted?" And I watched the video, and I was like, "Well, that was pretty stupid." And on top of that, they were like, "Oh, look how funny that was." Like it was funny. If that had been me, I'd have had a load of shit in my pants. I mean, straight up diarrhea down the pant leg. I would have never done it again. These guys got up laughing, thinking it was the greatest thing that ever happened to them and how cool it was going to be to post the video. And now I sit back and I look at this and I think about how that people who don't hunt or own guns or something, how does that impact the way they maybe vote? Because that's really something we need to think about. Is the future of hunting, that hunting and gun ownership, we view it as a right all too often, in my opinion, right? And the reality is that we're one ballot measure being passed, let's say in your state or my state, less likely in your state than my state, right? I'm in Oregon, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
We're one ballot measure being passed away from losing our rights. If the governor signs it into law, we can then appeal it to the state Supreme Court and then up to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. And if we lose, that law changes. No coming back from it, right? It's over. We lose that right to own a gun or hunt. Colorado just defeat. I'm not gonna say defeated it. They just didn't get the support in the House to pass a bill to end mountain lion hunting in Colorado. Once again, laws can get passed that affect our what we're able to do. I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts on how is it that we can prevent these laws from being passed, especially when it comes to like a ballot measure where the general public would vote on it. I worry about voters and how they look at us.
Yeah, I mean, first thing, like when you're talking about that video, that 50 cal, and the guy that says, "Look at this dumb redneck." Yeah. So this guy had this he whether he saw that video or not, that's what he thought in his mind. And that's unfortunately, that's just how people are, right? People are, a lot of it's where you're born and how you're raised and that kind of thing.
Well, but that video didn't do anything to dispel the myth. It kind of reinforced his belief, right?
Yeah. But I mean, what video would he have not, if the guy just was shooting it, he would say, look at this dumb redneck with a 50 cal.
Well,
it's,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't think there would have been a video with a gun that this guy wouldn't have felt that way. If he's not a gun owner.
He'd been around me a lot. I mean, this is a guy that I've known for 30 years. I mean, in all honesty, this guy had been around me with guns forever, like since we were kids. I mean, this is that kind of a guy that I know. I don't think he had a preconceived notion that everybody that owns guns is a dumb redneck, not by a long shot, because he still holds me in fairly high esteem, I believe, at least when he's talking to me. And we, and he's been around it his whole life. He just chooses not to own a gun, right? He lives in my part of the world. He is, not an urban dwelling, concrete jungle hippie. He's not even a liberal. That's the thing. He's I'd say like a very independent, middle of the road kind of guy. But, like I said, I think about that guy, knowing who he is, and I'm sure there's more people out there like him that don't have a preconceived notion. But once again, they see that video, and maybe they've had a thought, oh, man, it's just a dumb redneck with a gun, and then they see a video that reinforces that belief. But if you see a video of, let's say, I'll tell you a guy that handles himself with a gun really responsibly, and I've watched it a lot, is Jim Shockey, shoulders his gun right, his muzzle is always pointing in a safe direction, he's got good trigger discipline. People like that can project a good image, right, of a gun owner, a responsible gun owner. And, I would love to see more videos like that that are posed out there because, I mean, you've seen it. You've seen the video, and I don't want to sound racial like that, but you see like a guy that wants to be a gangster and he's posting something to Instagram, and all of a sudden he has a gun that shoots straight into the ground at his feet by accident, or he shoots a hole in the ceiling. That just makes guns look real bad. I mean, that's somebody who shouldn't have a gun. At all.
Yeah, for sure.
Not because they're black, but because they're dumb. And
it just, I mean, that just goes to just like hunting too. It's an educational thing.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So if these, I mean, here's always the tough part for me. It's like, are these guys gonna be, people that don't like guns, that don't like wolf hunting? Are they gonna allow themselves to hear the other side and be educated? Or are they just going to believe what they believe and nothing's going to change it? Because, there's tons of info out there on
lots of bad info.
Constitution to own a gun, right?
Yeah.
So like the gun thing, all you have to do is how many guns are in the U.S.?
Probably 400 million now,
yeah. How many gun related crimes are there in the U.S. a year? You know what I mean? Like, well, statistically, and then if you dive deeper, it's like, okay, where are all the gun related crimes in the places that have the most gun crimes? So there's pretty much holes in every argument about guns.
Totally.
If you go back to hunting, I just read something, I think it was on Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, that still on multiple polls they've done, they're still in 4 out of 5. So they said 80% of Americans don't have a problem with hunting.
Oh yeah.
So if it is that drastic of a number, here's the main issue with guns and with hunting. We'll just stay with hunting for a minute.
Sure.
So the problem is the people who are against hunting have the loudest voices. They're a small group. Clearly, if that's the true statistic, if there's 20% of people who are against hunting and there's 80%, I mean, that's a significant difference.
I get it.
So if 20%, but those are the only people if they're the loudest, that's who gets the most attention. So I think this what it boils down to, especially like for hunting, is honestly hunters being more vocal and coming together more,
and actually voting.
Yeah, exactly. And constantly talking. I think one good thing about social media is now we're able to see when these laws, they're trying to pass these laws like this like the Colorado cat thing. I mean, clearly science wise, there was absolutely, it was the worst is a
dumb.
horrible mistake.
Yeah, it was
based on actual conservation and science. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, you had guys like, do you follow Blood Origins?
Yeah.
I mean, Blood Origins did a great job of posting facts and getting good information out there and rallying the troops. The bottom line, though,
and that's
is
the good thing about social media is now there's quite a few. There's How, that how.org, like all those groups that are getting the information out and people can share it. I saw that. I wrote in for the Colorado thing, and I'm in Idaho. It doesn't affect me, but I know that it will. That's how it starts. Just like the California bear thing right now.
Yeah,
it's like those little loud groups are making the most noise. So I mean, and hunters like bicker among themselves and fight more than anybody, and that's okay. It's because we all have differences, right? I'm a bow hunter. I rifle hunt wolves, but I don't think it's fair to an animal to shoot it at 200 yards with a rifle, because I'm like, that's when my hunt begins. Does it mean it's wrong? No. Have I done it in the past? Yeah.
Sure.
So it doesn't really, those, we'll always have those little things,
Yeah.
But there has to be a point if we want to protect, our lifestyle and our way of life. Like, hunters need to come together, gun owners need to come together, and I think the main thing for me, what I try to do is educate on why I hunt, for wolves, for example, why I hunt them and what they do and what I get to see firsthand, because I'm in the hills. I'm not getting all my info from TV.
Yeah.
I'm in the hills all these days. I'm seeing, dude, where I killed that wolf. If I just did a video of me walking down the canyon, because that pack is in there every year. If I did a video of me walking down these two canyons, it makes me sad. I try not to even walk down them, because it's just dead elk every 20 yards. They just run them to the bottom and kill them.
Damn.
And so the education part of it, but the hard part is, because I try to educate, is a lot of people just don't want to hear it. People just don't care about facts. Everything is based on feelings now.
Oh, totally emotional. And I guess that's what brought me to, saying, hey, maybe we talk about how to post the video so that it's still badass, killing a wolf, right? Shooting a wolf, it rolls over, it dies, but maybe not make it as gruesome, gruesome to the average person. Because Zach, I think there's a lot more people out there than you think who don't have a preconceived notion about hunting. They really are down the middle of the road, could care less either way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those people, but they vote, right? And here's a hard fact for you. We had Ted Nugent on the show the other day, and we were talking about Hunter Nation and how important it is to them. And their mission statement is getting hunters registered to vote and actually getting off their ass and voting. 1 in 4. I bet you didn't know that. 1 in 4 hunters actually are registered to vote and bother to vote.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's stupid, right? I mean, so we need to rally our troops if we want to protect our right to hunt wolves and whatnot. And the problem is that if you look at overall voter rolls, that means that either anti-hunters or non-hunters make up about 50% of them are registered to vote, right? So that means they're going to turn out at the ballot box. Now, if you have a bunch of people who don't have a preconceived notion, and I don't mean to pick on your video, it's what brought us together here today, right?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah. Let's say it's November 4th, and they're getting ready to go vote the next day, and there's a ballot measure to illegalize wolf hunting in Idaho, okay? And they're on Instagram, and they're flipping through, and the 50,000th person shared your video. You've had more video views than you have followers. That's how great a reach it had. That speaks well to your public figure status, right? That people, it made people think, it made people want to watch it. But let's say they're watching it and that person sees the video and let's say they've got a German Shepherd. I'm just taking worst case scenario, right? They got a German Shepherd at their feet and they watch that video and they're like, oh, how gruesome. It's whoever it is, man, woman, whatever, they watch the video like, oh, how gruesome. Next day at their ballot box and they get down to that wolf hunting and they're thinking wolf, German Shepherd, and they bring back some of those feelings that they have. It might get them to check the wrong box. And that's why I'm always like, how do we still share what we do? Live it outward, because I'm proud to be a hunter. When someone says, oh, I'm ashamed that you're a hunter, I usually show them where my middle finger is, and I'm proud to say I'm a hunter and I've killed lots of animals and it's what I do for a living. It's how I pay the bills as being a professional hunter and hunting consultant. I'm not ashamed of that, But I'm also, when I talk to someone or I'm projecting an image, I guess I try to cleanse it. And maybe in your eyes, I'm trying to cleanse it too much, but I want to at least have that discussion of, like you said, there is no one out there. There's no line that's drawn in concrete that says you can do this and you can't exactly do that, because it's a free country and we do what we want to do. But I'd really like to open up that discussion further every single day with, hey, what are we posting? What image does it project to that person who's truly in the middle? And how do we project an image that makes them want to side with us? Like Meat Eater. I mean, look, Meat Eater's, Stephen Ranella is a bit liberal, left to center, but the image he projects to hunters of hunters is really good. Like, hey, I'm here, I'm getting this meat, I'm eating it and stuff. I mean, talk to me about that. Talk to me about kind of that image projection to the public, to those people who are in the middle.
Yeah, so this is one of those weird things because you probably, I don't know if you read or listened to that podcast with Steve's brother, Matt, who was upset about hunter numbers and stuff, and he said, and it's a problem because of TV shows and that kind of thing. I don't really, I mean, to an extent, that's a little bit of an issue, but not really. I'm all for the guys like Joe Rogan, who have a huge platform that hunt, because the good thing is, well, I mean, every once in a while, when he actually talks like he knows what he's talking about hunting, that I don't like, because he doesn't. It's not realistic. But hunting, just talking about hunting in general, it doesn't matter. Like, the vast majority of people who don't hunt that listen to a show, they don't know. But the difference between me shooting an elk on over the counter DIY hunt or him shooting a $70,000 tule elk, like.
Whoa, totally. I mean,
so and that's a good thing. That's actually fine, right?
He's projecting a good image, is what you're saying.
He's talking about hunting, and he's talking about eating it and stuff. So I don't think he's pushing people to hunt necessarily, like him, for instance. And I'm using him because there's literally nobody on planet Earth that has a bigger platform right now.
I think he's number one.
Yeah. So, like, I think that's a great thing. So that people will find it. Those people who wouldn't hunt but are on the fence, they'll be like, okay, hunting. Then they'd be okay with hunting. Meat Eater. Yeah, like you said, I think he take out all the other issues with the company and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's more internal issues for the fight on, and that's fine. But the main goal is for the public, how the public views it and what the public sees. And no, I think he's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. They're projecting a good image to the non-hunting public of hunters in general, so that they, so that maybe somebody takes up hunting. I actually have people call me all the time and say they picked up hunting because of Meat Eater, and they want to put that good organic wild game meat in their freezer, and they're more interested in forked horns than 180-inch bucks, and that's cool. I'm down for that. I love it when they tell me that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is what we need. So there has to be, like we talked about, there's got to be. You'll see even on media, Joe Rogan did shoot a bear. He did it once. He still talks about it every once in a while. So that's great. That's a predator. The predator, like we talked about, the predators get the most whatever. And wolves, especially. Wolves they look like your dog. They sound beautiful. And I love wolves. And you understand that, I can kill an animal and love it. But a non-hunter, that's tough for them to understand, like how much appreciation and how much beauty and how much I respect and think wolves are like the most amazing animal ever. But yeah, they look like your dog. They sound beautiful. You think about when you think about the West, you think about elk and wolves, since you were a kid, like that's what you picture. And so that's just more of an educational thing. The problem is like I was saying before, what's the line? Because maybe that guy who saw my video that swayed his vote, maybe just the photo also would have swayed his vote.
Totally.
And especially with wolves, because you probably know this, there is like almost no good wolf hunting footage. They're like the hardest thing to get on film.
Oh yeah. I don't know a lot. I mean, the fact that you were able to keep your spotting scope and phone scope on that wolf the whole time was really impressive to me, by the way. It was
I
awesome.
thought that was a miracle too. After when I looked at the footage, I was like, oh man, he stayed on there. I didn't even know if I hit record.
Totally. I've had camera operators in the past that would have had trouble with a $10,000 camera doing it on a nice set of sticks, much less a phone scope and a spotting scope. So
on a hillside in the snow.
Exactly right. I give you mad props for that one.
And that was probably a big part of it. Posting it is like I've been trying to get one on film forever, and they're hard enough to. It's hard enough to kill one, let alone get it on film. I'm never worried about trying to get film.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're solo hunting, right? I mean, that'd be impossible.
Which I do, yeah. But there's a guy in North Idaho that has gotten lots of footage of him solo hunting.
Wow,
it's incredible.
Wow.
But yeah, there's just like, I just struggle with where's the line. We can't get into these people's minds.
Oh, totally. The line is for you and I to decide for ourselves individually.
Yeah,
that's the reality, Zach. Is that you when you've got a piece of video, and you might go out tomorrow and get another one. God bless you. And then you've got the video and you're looking at it and you say, okay, like you said, maybe it's got a big gaping hole. Maybe your bullet goes in and blows a 3-foot hole out the backside of this thing and a rib, big rib tear and whatnot. And you might cleanse it up a little bit before you post it. But otherwise, I mean, obviously you've decided what you want to post, and that's your decision and how you put it out there. And then if I was in your shoes, I would probably be like, okay, I'm probably going to edit this down a little bit. I'm going to have maybe a little more, more of a TV edit to it instead of that just straight up raw, which once again was badass, because I'm going to post something that I feel I need to post for me individually. Right. And I think I think it's about you and I having this discussion now and having that, what I'll tell you, the video that I can't stand to watch is like somebody who shoots an elk and the back leg comes out from underneath it. And 3 minutes later, they're still trying to whittle this animal down to the ground. And I mean, that is bad, right? I mean, I usually send those guys a more direct comment than hey, let's have a discussion, but how we project ourselves to the public is a conversation that I think as an industry and as a community we need to do. Tell you what, I've got to hear from one last sponsor before we close up this podcast, Zach, because this has been an awesome discussion. We come back in just a minute. Zach and I are going to finish this conversation. We're going to talk about the upcoming 2022 season. I want to know what you've got in store, Zach. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
This segment of the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast is sponsored by Burris Optics. Find what matters.
All right, we're back here in the podcast studio. We're on with Zack Owens. His Instagram handle is @beyond_the_backcountry, beyond the backcountry. By the way, how'd you come up with that Instagram handle?
So actually, it was a joke. It was. I was kind of like an Instagram OG. I've had Instagram since like 2012 or 11 or something, and I actually made it as a joke because I would see all these people talk about, going way far into the backcountry, and, they took a photo and I knew what ridge they were on. And I'm like, I've seen little kids in Crocs hike up there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't that extreme.
So it was kind of a joke like that. And then it kind of switched meanings. Now for me, it's just like, I'm everyone. My social media is different because I share my family life. Like people that follow me know my entire, like I see people at expos and they're like, I feel like I know your entire life. I know your kids' names, like your wife, like all that. So now it's moved to that. It's like my life is more than just hunting, my life is beyond just hunting in the backcountry.
Yeah.
It's just kind of evolved like that, but originally it was a joke making fun of people.
I get it. You always see those pictures of people that are pretending to do something extreme, like they went in and did one push-up for video,
that's about 99% of social media.
Oh yeah, it's all fake, man. I love our Oregon governor showing up at the Pendleton Roundup grounds for a 30-second photo op and then being
and then bounce.
Yeah, and then out. They're like gone. Like, I showed up at the Roundup. No, you didn't. You walked in, walked out. You didn't really belong there. And and you talk about like how hard it is to get wolves on camera. I guess it's been a while ago now, and I can't remember exactly. It's probably 7 or 8 years ago. One of my videographers and a trainee that we had, and myself, and I had a young 9-year-old girl with me named Emma. And Emma Bell and I went into a meadow, and we were calling, and we are going to try and get an elk killed in there for her. And a bull elk appeared on the edge of this meadow, and we actually instantly call it Wolf Meadow now. And all of a sudden, that elk disappeared. Like, it turned and spun and was gone. And I was like, what the heck? Wind's in my face. You know, we weren't moving. All right, who spooked that elk? I wanted to kick someone's ass for running off the elk, you know. And all the elk shut up that were bugling around us in the area. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, crap, there's a wolf right there. Like right in front, just appeared right in front of us. And then there was another one. The whole pack came in and surrounded us. And the last ones were getting pretty close behind us because I was still cow calling. I was actually trying to call the wolves in with cow calling at this point and see how close they could get. And I was just laying there with them, and she had a little orange hat on. It was pretty cute. And you know, and she leaned over and she was like, do we get to shoot these? And I'm like, no, I wish. We would.
Yeah, that video's on YouTube.
It is. Yeah.
I've seen it.
And so, you know, but I had a lot of people, like I had a lot of hunters were like, you should have not filmed and just slaughtered them all. And other people were like, oh, good on you for not killing them, for following the rules and whatnot. But it was a video that kind of taught me, you know, I got to kind of take the temperature of the public on with regards to wolves. And you know, and I found the power of video and social media and whatnot outside of television really when I was in Utah. And here's where I'll bring up the laws and whatnot, and how sometimes what we do can change things, and sometimes for the better. I was in Utah. I'm driving down the road. I'm coming back from the ranch where we were hunting, and we come across a black Chevy Blazer, smaller, one of those little Trailblazers in the middle of the road, and the hood's folded up, and there's a deer on the ground in front of it. No problem. I pull over. Corner of this woman's on the phone, and this deer's flopping around. It's got a broken back, and she's on the phone with the sheriff's department. This is a big woman. If she's listening, I'm sorry if I describe you as big. The steering wheel prevented her from exiting the vehicle. Anyway, so I take the phone from her, and I got on the phone. I was like, "Hi, my name's Steve West. I was just driving down the road. You know, this buck is still, you know," I said, "she's okay. The vehicle, blah, blah, blah." I said, "But this buck's flopping around with a broken back. I'm going to dispatch it, pull it off the road, you know, and I'll wait for law enforcement." She said, "The hell you will." She said, "You will not shoot that deer." I said, "Sorry? You know, I come from a state where we can dispatch stuff." She's like, "You will wait for a sheriff's deputy to get there, or we will cite you." Now, at this point, I've already told her who I am. A mistake I don't want to make again. And so I sat there for an hour and a half. And I didn't really realize that Ian, my camera operator at the time, still had me hot mic'd. And he's filming me, and I'm getting mad. Hour and a half in, I've called 3 times. This deer, I've drugged this deer back off the road as it's crawling around making sound. I mean, it was breaking my heart. It was killing me. And finally, I'd given up. They told me there was someone dispatched, and I racked around. I was walking over to shoot this thing, and here comes a DNR, a Utah DNR truck drives up, and I flag him down. And I was like, "Hey, are you here to dispatch this deer?" And he goes, "No, I was headed up to the lake to check fishing licenses." Wasn't even the guy. I was like, "Dude, you need to get out of your truck right now and shoot this deer." And I explained the situation to him. He got out, dispatched the deer, apologized for someone not showing up. And this hot mic situation turned into a great video. We put it in the television episode, Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, my social media. It got like 10 million views. And I ended up getting a call from a legislator, someone who a member of the House of Representatives in Utah, who co-sponsored the bill, changed the law, and now we can dispatch these animals in Utah. But that could have gone the other direction. You know what I mean? It could have been something where someone co-sponsored a bill to make something illegal. And that's one of the things why I guess that's maybe the real big instance in my life where I realized the power of video and how it could change a law.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so I bring those instances up of the power of video, you know, the wolf video with young Emma and which was still something I remember like it happened yesterday. And, you know, and then the deer incident and I guess I love the ability to educate the public. Like you're saying, we've got to educate the people. The people have to be willing to listen. At the same time, of course, we need to be willing to listen if they've got a valid point the other direction. But like I said, I'd love to, you know, continue this open public forum and discussion with you and tens of thousands of other hunters and sportsmen around the nation. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking today. So let me ask this. What are you doing this year? Have you applied for any tags? What's your 2022 hunting season look like?
Yeah, I bow hunt general Idaho. You know, if I'm lucky to draw a tag, I probably will draw a general season archery tag in Utah. I'm more than likely draw Colorado deer, archery with
Cool.
point, Oregon archery elk. It'll be busy fall like always, but things just kind of, I usually hunt out of state maybe twice a year. I go down to Arizona. I was just in Arizona a month ago, but I usually go down there, and then last couple of years, and then usually try to hunt one or two. You know, I do work back in the hunting industry now, in the firearm / hunting industry now.
Oh, what do you
I
do?
hadn't for quite a few years. So I'm the brand manager at Right On Optics.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
And so I'm back in this space, which now, you know, even with that, I got to be a little bit more careful, but I don't really have sponsors or anything like that anymore. It's a lot easier, you know, like you said, you make your living off this too. So in a way, your hands are tied to a certain extent, right? And that's not a knock. I know multiple people who have hunting shows.
I'll tell you right now, like in my world, I have a sponsor, and they came to me with a concern a few years ago, and they were like, look, you know, we think, you know, and obviously I won't call names because that person's not with the company anymore, so it's really irrelevant. Yeah. But they said, hey man, if you don't fix this, we're probably going to pull our sponsorship. And I was like, look, I'm going to do me. If you want to pull my sponsorship, that's cool. Don't sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, so hands being tied in one respect. On the other, I also, when I believe something's right, I'll stand up for it, and I can always get another sponsor. I self-sponsor 9% of our dollars anyway. So it's like, why not, you know? But yeah, I get where you're coming from. You know, you're in industry just like we are. And I'm really protective of how I project my image and how I'd project your image or anybody else. And for that matter, hey, just curious. So you said like Oregon archery elk, like where do you hunt in Oregon? So I mean, I don't want a ridge name or anything.
No, I've actually never hunted in Oregon.
Yeah.
And, my best friend, my hunting partner's family just bought a big ranch down there.
Cool.
And so they got landowner tags. Like I hunt everything public land, over the counter, DIY. That's just because that's all I can afford. Like that's what I do. Right.
Sure.
And I do, that is my favorite style of hunting. I like the idea of it, you know.
Yeah.
Just how hard it is and all that stuff. But I am going to be tickled to death if I get to hunt private property and get a landowner tag. Because I don't mind it at all. I'm not against it, that's for sure.
Where's the ranch at? Do you know?
Yeah, it's just right out of La Grande.
No kidding.
Yep.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
So it's the amount of elk on it is insane.
Like which unit? Do you know?
I don't even know the unit. I know, it's just right outside of La Grande. They had, when they bought it, it's a big ranch, but when they bought it, I know all the surrounding big ranches, nobody hunts on them.
Wow, that's
cool. They had to high fence the alfalfa field because of the elk.
Oh, they're Starkey unit then, if they've got alfalfa.
Yeah, I just know they have, because they run cows on it, and they literally had to limit their number of cows by like 200 or 300 head because of the amount of elk. It's wild. It is wild. I saw, my buddy said when he went out there for the first time when they were looking to buy it, every patch of trees, any tree over, 3 foot around or under 3 foot around was just hammered like nothing he's ever seen before.
Cool. Well, so if you're going to find your way down here, you got to come by. When you come to La Grande this year to hunt, you got to come in and see us.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I'll apply for the unit anyway, and knowing everything went to draw for elk.
Yeah.
We could have just bought the tag last year. They bought it last year, and just right then we could have freaking bought or just tried to get over the counter tags, and we waited, and now it's all draw. So even if I don't get the landowner tag, if I don't draw the landowner tag, then I'll still apply for it. So hopefully I get a tag either way. But
yeah, the landowner tags actually, if it's in the Starkey unit, they're actually a guaranteed landowner tag now. So
is it guaranteed? Actually, yeah, I don't know. I don't think my buddy is like whose family owns a ranch. He wasn't like too familiar. He thought it was sort of like a draw system.
Well, it's set up like a draw, but it's actually the archery tags for the Starkey, Catherine Creek, because they could be in the Catherine Creek unit too. But those units up over there, what they do is they put a guarantee on them up to their maximum number of tags allowed on their LOP registration. And so I mean it's cool. I mean it's a great area, lots of elk, and hopefully you got what. I mean, if you make it out here, you got to come by. You got to come by and say hi, and sit in for a BS session, because it'd be awesome to have you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cool.
I'd love to. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. It was fun. This is an important issue. Like, people need to just talk about it more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, because, with any sort of platform, it's like you whether I like it or not, because I still, even though I have a platform on social media, I think it's a joke. So
you're still a public figure, though. That's the thing.
I do realize that. I always tell everybody, everybody's like, "Oh, you're Instagram famous." I'm like, yeah, it's like real famous, but not at all. So there is. I do have. No matter what, I do have, an outlet and a platform, and that I try to do the best I can do. But, I'm just going to do what I believe in. I'll never shy away from my beliefs. I'm pretty stern and hard headed when it comes to that. But I think I'm also smart enough, and not smart, but I'm smart enough to know what is okay to say and publish. So.
Of course. Yeah. And like I said, I think we constantly have to be kind of checking the temperature. And let's face it, if there was a wolf bill that was literally on the Idaho, like on the Idaho docket, I think it's important for us to figure out how to maintain it. You know what I mean? Like, how do we make sure that wolf hunting stays legal? If we're going to post a video of, let's say, killing a wolf that might anger somebody, we have to post a video in return that just talks about it. Like you and I saying, are talking about how important it is to be able to control predator numbers and management. Otherwise, we're not going to have as many elk and deer, and how certain things have to be in check, and post that education. If for a yin, there's got to be a yang, right? So that's why and I'll tell you right now, if you ever need a platform to, or someone to co-sponsor something or work on it with you when it comes to that education, all you have to do is reach out. You can always count me in.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. No, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on. I'm gonna try to push all my viewers over to listen to it, because it's really, that's the problem with social media. You only have so much time or so much space to write. You can only get so much across with writing.
Totally. The power of video, the power of audio, and once again, open public discussion between parties, and because we agree, we just you and I just have different thoughts on how to convey a message, right? And but as long as we're all working toward the same end goal, we'll all get there eventually.
Absolutely.
Amen. Well, once again, Zach, thanks for coming on the show. Blessings to you and your family, and I'll be in touch soon.
Thanks, man. Take care.
You bet. Bye-bye. I'll tell you right now, that was awesome having Zack on the show today. Obviously he and I have, like I said, different ideas of how to go about projecting, our message or our image to the public. But in the same breath, I can honestly say that he and I have the same goals in terms of preserving hunting and wildlife management and conservation and everything. And I brought this up a couple of times. I think it's really important that we talk about, also how guns and gun ownership is projected to the public. And before I close out today's show, I'm going to put this message out there that responsible gun ownership is absolutely 100% mandatory, in my opinion. No, I'm not saying we need to have trigger locks and all this other crap. But what I'm saying is we need to police our own ranks. We need to pay attention to what we're posting and only show photos and videos that depict lawful and responsible gun ownership. This needs to apply also to making sure that people who shouldn't have guns no longer have access to them. If you know someone who's mentally ill, I actually know someone who's, I'm not going to use the word retarded, but they're maybe developmentally delayed, that was legally able to purchase a handgun and an AR-15, and he thinks it's cool to have them, but he is not mature enough to have a firearm. And I wish I knew the gun shops that sold him these firearms, because I'd love to, go in and have a conversation with them that their $100 or $200 that they made was not worth it, because in the end, he actually ended up getting shot. When you pull a gun, you should probably have the maturity level to understand what it is that you're doing. And we need to start. I should have gone there. I should have taken these guns. I should have stepped in, and I'm going to tell you right now, moving forward, I'm going to be more active in promoting and trying to maintain a responsible gun ownership community. You know, I'm not saying someone needs to be a rat and rat out the guy down the street who has a gun or something like that. But, you know, just try to help people understand that maybe there are people out there who shouldn't have guns. And, you know, because if something stupid happens, if they shoot someone or they get shot or, you know, or they go commit a crime, you know, someone who robs a store with a gun, that's gun crime, okay? We need to cut that out. Like, we need to find a way to curb that. And, you know, we're one ballot measure, you know, one public vote going the wrong direction for us away from losing some rights. We've got to be more responsible. We've got to help reduce gun violence in our own little way. Are we going to be able to go into downtown Detroit or Chicago or, you know, these big urban cities and convince these felons to take away their guns? No. But I think that we can, honestly, so like I've got an FFL. If someone came into my office and sat down and said, hey, man, I want to buy a gun, and I feel immediately like, hey, this is not someone who's going to do the right thing with firearms, you know, I'm not going to sell them a gun. And I'm hoping that the other gun owners in my area would feel the same way and wouldn't sell this person a gun. Even if they're legally able to buy a gun, we have a moral obligation to decide whether or not we want to do business with a particular individual. And I'm not talking about their race or sex or anything. I'm not saying profile them like that. I'm talking about profile their personality. You know, is this person someone that you want to have living next to you or in your community owning a firearm? And, you know, and just try to make sure that we as a gun ownership community and a hunting community are doing the right thing as often as we possibly can. Because once again, we are one law away, one law being passed away from losing these rights. All right? We have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms. But I'll tell you where that ends. That ends when a law passes, the state Supreme Court upholds it, and the United States Supreme Court upholds it. When that happens, the law changes. Your right just went away at that point in time. You no longer have a right to that firearm or that hunting privilege or whatever it might be. We need to understand what voters are thinking. We need to understand how our actions, the things we post to social media, the things that we allow to have happen around us, we have to understand how all of those things impact the future of hunting rights and gun ownership rights. And I just want people to think about it. Just think about those things before you post something or do something, and talk about it with your friends. I'm not asking everybody to agree with me, and a lot of you out there might be really ticked at me right now because of my stance and my position, but that's okay, because I'm all about open, public forum, discourse, civil discourse, talking about it. You, me, you and your friends, you and people who aren't your friends. Talk about it. See how they feel about something. See their side of an issue or a topic and work it out. We all don't have to be enemies. We can all be friends. Until next time, once again, I'm Steve West. This is the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast. Get outside, have a good time, and most importantly, have fun in the outdoors.
The Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast is sponsored by Farwide, the game-changing free app that puts outdoor intelligence in the palm of your hand.